but it's part of a much larger cause. And that's what motivates me to go out and speak. And now with the addition of Lake Zurich High School, I'm up to 20 high schools for which I speak as far as this goes. And you know, unlike some of the things that you wonder about in your class, this is relevant to you in your life today, because when you go to get your driver's license, you're going to be asked that question: do you want to be an organ donor? And what most people do with that question is they blow it off. I don't know anything about that. I don't want to think about that. You know, no is the common answer. And what I'd like to do, my goal for this period, is to give you information about it so that you can make a decision that's comfortable for yourself. Okay? So now let me give you a little background as to why I got involved in this and so on. You know, and you'll think it's kind of personal and so on, but you'll quickly learn that it's part of a bigger cause. For most of my life, I couldn't see. I had pretty terrible vision as a kid. I was able at that point to be corrected to perfect vision. And by the way, you know, I'm a former teacher, and I'm now the assistant varsity basketball coach here at Lake Zurich. So I know from teaching that bribery gets me everywhere. And if you will volunteer and ask questions, if you'll volunteer answers, you could have a brand new Donate Life pencil for your favorite class that I taught, which was...
Driver's ed.
Huh?
Driver's ed.
Driver's ed. No, after that, you have to say that for Mr. Reagan.
Cooking.
No.
Math.
Wow.
Boom.
Mr. Ty wins a pencil. Okay? So I taught math for 39 years at Hersey High School. Okay? And I coached basketball there. I was the head coach for a long time. And like I said, for most of my life, I couldn't see. I was able to be corrected to perfect vision with glasses. What is perfect vision? 20/20, he said. Okay? So, and then when you guys passed your eye test for your permit, do you know what vision you needed to have to pass that and be approved? No. 20, but thank you for training. Okay. 20/40 is what your vision had to be, okay, to pass the eye test, to be, at least in that regard, safe to drive. Okay. At age 26, I developed a condition of my eye called keratoconus, which meant that the surface of my eye, yours is like this, mine was like this. And so when stuff came into my eye, all the images and so on were scattered all over the place. I couldn't see. In order for me to read something without any correction, I had to put my nose on it and go like this. My vision was diagnosed at that time at 2900. Okay, what does that mean? That means that what you could all see at 900 feet, I had to get to 20 feet before I could see it. That's 3 football fields. I was pretty much legally blind. And fortunately for me, I had really good doctors who were up to the state-of-the-art technology and so on. And they could get me very specialized contact lenses, which corrected my vision down to about 20/30. So I could teach math and read the exponents and all those little things, and I could be a dad, and I could be a husband, and I could coach basketball, and I could announce football games, and I could drive safely. 20/30, a little fuzzy, but I was fine. Then, after about 25 years, my vision fell even more rapidly down to about 20/80 corrected. That was with contact lenses. That was the best I could have. And my wearing time went way down on my eyes to the point where I could only wear my lenses about 7 hours because the lenses were frying up my eyes. It was like I had sandpaper in my eyes. And so how do you exist with 7 hours of crummy vision every day, and you're trying to teach school and coach, and those are long days, and be a dad at home and all those kinds of things? Well, what I tried to do, because I kept thinking it would get better, is I would wear one lens for 7 hours, take it off, wear the other lens for 7 hours, and that way I could get 14 hours of wearing time, but it was crummy vision. And I'm not kidding you, I'm driving at night and all of a sudden there's a parked car and I gotta go like this because I don't see it. And so it was dangerous. And finally, my doctors said there was a solution. The solution was to have corneal transplants. So I had a corneal transplant in 1999, and I had another one in the year 2000. And when and after the surgeries were completed, and adjustments were made, and stitches were cut, and so on, the vision in my left eye with contact lens turned out to be 2015, and in my right eye it turned out to be 2020. And when you haven't seen for most of your life, that's a miracle. That is like going from fuzzy black and white TV, which was what my life was, to HD flat, man. You know, the Black Eyed Peas, right, dude? HD flat, color enhanced DVD. Details like I never saw before. Like, that guy has speckles in his gray shirt. I couldn't have told you that before. There are pockmarks in those bricks. I couldn't have told you that before. I couldn't have told you there were leaves on trees because I didn't see them. And so there isn't a day in my life that I don't get up and I'm not thankful for my eyesight and the fact that I was able to have corneal transplants. Now let's be clear about what that is, okay? The cornea is the clear surface of your eye over the colored part of your eye. It's about the size of a dime. And somebody had to make a decision that they would be an organ, and in this case a tissue donor. And I received a cornea in 1999 and in the year 2000, which meant their cornea was taken off, my cornea was taken off, and their cornea was sewn onto my eye with 16 stitches finer than a human hair out of my field of vision. And it changed my life. It allowed me to continue to do the things that I love to do, and so on and so forth. And so I was really thankful about the whole process. I mean, it was amazing to me. And so I started talking to my students at Hersey about the whole thing and promoting and so on and so forth. And then when I retired, I affiliated myself with the Gift of Hope. And I was trained as a speaker and approved to go out and speak to high school groups like you. And I found out lots of information. There's a ton of information if you just Google organ and tissue donation. But being the math guy that I am, I reduced that information to 3 numbers. Okay? And these are current numbers. I've updated them as I've spoken over the years. Okay? Number 1, right now in the United States, there are over 119,000 people waiting for an organ donation. Okay? This year, 2013, on the average, over 6,600 people will die because they did not get a needed organ. If you divide that by the number of days in the year, 365, on the average today, October 1st, 2013, 18 people are dying because they aren't getting an organ donation. Okay, that's about 1 during this class period. And the thing that motivates me to go out and speak, and why I speak to 20 high schools and so on, is that the sign-up rate in the United States, adults 18 years and older who are committed to being an organ donor, should God forbid something happen to them, is 40%. Way, way too low. If we could get the sign-up rate to be 80 or 90%, these numbers are virtually gone. So that's why I go out and speak. Yes, it was personal to me to get involved, but now it's about the larger cause. And that's why I go out to speak. So what do I want to happen, because I'm talking to you today? Well, the first thing that I want to happen is I want you to have information about what it means to be an organ donor. And we're about to show you a video here concerning that, okay? I want you to know about it so that when you go to get your driver's license, or when you renew your driver's license at age 21, a monumental time, because you'll go from a vertical license to a horizontal license, and you'll be legal to do a lot more things, and so on. And when you renew your license every 4 years, every time you're gonna be asked, do you wanna be an organ donor? And rather than just blowing that decision off, I want you to know what it is that you're deciding, and hopefully get comfortable with the idea. At any time, ask me any questions. There's nothing off limits. Okay? Anybody know if your parents are signed up to be an organ donor? A few of you, great. Anybody had any experience with organ donation in your family? Kidney transplant or something like? What do you know?
My uncle who died back in 2008, I think, or 2007, was waiting for a transplant when he died, and he was also a donor, and he gave his eyes.
Super. When he died, he gave his eyes, yeah, his corneas.
Yeah.
And what kind of an organ was he waiting for?
Liver, I think, or yeah, I think it was liver.
Mr. Williams, in the last period, shared the fact that it's a 2008 Lake Zurich graduate that got a second heart transplant and is alive today because of that. And you know, you're going to see this video. It's going to show you 4 men who received a young man's organs and so on. Well, organ donation is relevant to both men and women, any ethnicity, any age. It's not just something that happens to old, decrepit people. And I can show you a video of 5 teenagers who all got organ transplants that saved their lives. Preeminently, a girl 15 years old at Wheeling High School who got a heart transplant, and so on. So it's all over the place. With those kinds of numbers, it hits every walk of life. So, Mr. Regan, if we could show the video now,
Yeah.
that would be appropriate, and then we'll come back to the PowerPoint a little bit. And if you have questions, please ask them.
This one here done.
Yes, sir.
I didn't find an error in the
In
computer.
the computer. Still loading though.
I'll just do it in my computer.
You see a video of Jason Ray. He was the mascot of North Carolina's basketball team back in 2007. He'd signed up to be an organ donor for whatever reason. He had a conversation with his parents. Ironically, when the team went up to New Jersey to play, he got killed. And so they show kind of him, and then they show 4 people who received organs from him, and how it saved their lives, and it talks with their parents prominently, and so on. So you'll kind of think this is about basketball, because I'm a basketball coach, but it really has nothing to do with basketball.
Quick question over there.
Please.
Is there anything that disqualifies you from being an organ?
If you're not healthy, and that can be for a couple of reasons, like if you were an alcoholic, you wouldn't be getting a liver or donating a liver. If you had any kind of disease like cancer, you wouldn't be donating, and so on. But as long as you're healthy, nothing disqualifies you, and in fact, people will say, well, isn't there some age limit? Just depends on what the health is, and so on. There used to be this idea that, oh, you can't donate after you're 70 or something. Completely wrong. Depends on your health.
Do you have any issues with it last time?
No. Making good sounds. There we go.
First black athlete. Coach Dean Smith charged into a racist crowd on campus and tore down a burning doll hung in effigy depicting his player, the first black athlete on campus. The school also gave us Michael Jordan, arguably the best player who ever laced him up. And the Tar Heel basketball program gave us Jason Ray. He doesn't hold any records, but more than anyone who ever wore Carolina blue and white, Jason Ray mattered. Lisa Salt was found out in this E60 report.
Selection Sunday, 2007. The brackets were set for college basketball's biggest prize. And for the University of North Carolina, a #1 seed in the East, meant an eventual trip to New Jersey, which put in motion a course of events that impacted much more than basketball bragging rights. Jason Ray, a senior, was especially excited for the Tar Heels run. The 21-year-old loved Chapel Hill, from teaching Bible studies to singing in a college rock band.
I'd like to take this intermission to say my mom is sitting right there, my father, my mom.
But Jason's most famous role was as the mascot for the Tar Heels.
Jason had a level of enthusiasm himself that you could tell immediately, and I think that that's something that did fire up the crowd.
We talked 2 days before they left to go up to New Jersey. He was just so highly anticipating them making a run.
On the afternoon of March 23rd, just hours before Carolina was scheduled to play USC in the East Regionals, Jason Ray left his hotel and went walking along this busy New Jersey highway. He was going to get a bite to eat.
It was on Friday, and the phone rang when they said, are you Jason Ray's mother? And I said, yes. And they said, there's been an accident. And I just said, hold on, let me let you talk to his dad, because I was beginning to shake.
She said my son had been struck by an automobile, and he was in real serious condition, and we needed to get there.
And I heard him say, oh no, oh no. And I just went all to pieces. I just didn't know what it was, but I knew it was bad.
The driver who hit Jason stopped and called 911. It was clear Jason was badly hurt. His parents raced from North Carolina to this New Jersey hospital. Jason had suffered severe head trauma. There was no sign of brain activity. So a representative from the New Jersey Sharing Network, a group that facilitates tissue and organ transplants, was called in to broach a subject that was not easy for his parents to hear: organ donation.
I was thinking everything except sharing his organs with anybody at that point.
He just kept saying he wanted to take Jason home. He wanted to take him home.
But this difficult decision had already been made by Jason himself, evident on his driver's license. He was pretty adamant about wanting to be a donor.
Yes, yes, yes.
What was his reason?
Because he didn't want to be buried with his heart or anything that somebody needed something. He said, don't you dare bury me if my body could help somebody else.
You could have said no.
It's true.
but it would upset him. So I wouldn't have not honored it.
On Monday, March 26th, at 8:38 in the morning, 3 days after his accident, doctors pronounced Jason Ray dead.
Were you able to say goodbye?
Oh, yeah.
Can you share with me what you said to him?
I told him I'd see him again. I also told him I'd swap places with him if he'd get up.
As one family grieved, another got a ray of hope. For over a decade, 58-year-old Ronald Griffin had suffered from congestive heart failure. This former postal worker and grandfather of two was one of nearly 100,000 Americans on the organ transplant waiting list. He and his wife Stephanie feared that he would die before the right heart ever came.
You know, even as the hearts came through, there had to be somebody about his size, you know, and of course his blood type, with the red blood type, and he has to be at the top of the list.
And at the time of Jason Ray's death, Ronald was at the top of that list. Jason's heart was a perfect match.
Without Jason ever beating on me, as long as I breathe and my heart beats, Jason, to a degree, is alive.
43-year-old Dennis Corzelius and his wife Patty had been married just over a month when doctors told him he faced certain death from liver failure.
You know, first thing I thought about was the kids. And, you know, kids don't understand dying.
Yes, Dad. Today, Dennis's outlook is good. Doctors tell him that if he survives 1 year, he can expect to lead a fairly normal life. 40-year-old David Irving and his mother Nancy had endured his debilitating diabetes for over 25 years. He was on painful kidney dialysis for 9 of them. After receiving one of Jason's kidneys and his pancreas, he is back to work on the family's farm. And Antoine Hunter had survived on just 1 kidney since he was a baby. And when that kidney started failing at age 15, he too was put on the transplant list. Now, he looks forward to high school basketball tryouts since he received Jason's other kidney. In all, Jason's organ and tissue donation may have improved or saved more than 50 lives, from burn victims to the visually impaired. Normally, the donation process is confidential, but because of the media attention surrounding Jason's death, most of the organ recipients figured out on their own just who their donor was.
Just a kid. I just was a bunch of mixed emotion. I was twisted.
It's a hard thing to explain. I mean, I'm glad I'm alive. I mean, but I'm not glad that he's gone.
Have you thought about any of the people that he helped?
Yes, I wondered how they felt. I'm thinking, I hope something good happens for them. And at first, though, I thought, well, those people that got his organs, their prayers were answered, and mine wasn't. But God had a plan. He had to have a plan for all this.
At the Rays' request, the New Jersey Sharing Network and ESPN contacted the organ recipients and asked them if they wanted to meet Jason's parents. They all agreed.
At the point when they got out of the car, I wanted to love them so much. There was an instant connection.
Ronald?
Yes, sir.
Glad to see you. He just grabbed me and gave me a big hug and told me, man, I love you, son. And of course, that's all he wanted to hear. I mean, he didn't have to say anything else. Glad to meet you guys.
Charlotte Ray. I'm so glad to meet you. Glad to meet you. Hi, Dennis. How are you?
Oh, so nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
He was a great kid, and I hope that you guys all understand that. You all probably understand it better than most anybody.
It was Jason that wanted to do this, and he came in and he made the decision at 18 or 19 that he wanted to be a donor. So don't feel guilty. Just think how lucky you are. He was a special guy. You know, Mother would say that, but he was special.
It was marvelous. What's not to like about Emmett? He has a personality big as all outdoors. And Shauna has that Southern Belle thing going on. And she is the sweetest honey.
I'm so glad to meet you and everything.
I still want to cry about it.
You just be happy. You just stay happy.
I don't know how anybody could listen to some of the stories and the timing and everything that occurred and not think that there's an architect doing that. You know, it's like God's designed it.
You seem happy. We've only seen each other twice, and from last week to this week, you seem so happy, uplifted.
Well, when I listened to their stories and I could visualize in my mind how they were living and then to how they are doing now. Oh, look what's coming in the future. Look what they've got to look forward to.
I was blessed getting to know my new family. And it's been a fantastic journey.
When I hear them talk and everything, I'm just thinking, oh, he has touched a lot of people. He'll live on for them. I just don't ever want him to be forgotten.
Lisa's been a broadcast journalist for almost 2 decades. I called her while this piece aired Tuesday night in the premiere of E60, and she said she still thinks about Jason Ray and his parents every day, many times a day. She said it's the first time that has ever happened to her in her career. You can watch E60 Tuesday night, 7 p.m. on ESPN.
So if we can go back to the PowerPoint now, that would be great. But Jason Ray made a decision. He made a decision to be an organ donor. Why did he do that? How did he know to do that? Nobody has any idea. And the important thing was that he had a conversation with his parents. And ironically, tragically, when something happened to him, it was a lot easier decision for them, although when you're 18, you're legal, you can make that decision, and your parents can't really take it away from you. It's going to happen if that's what you've decided once you're 18. But until you're 18, you need to have a conversation with your parents, and so on. So you see what an effect he had. He saved the lives of those 4 guys. He maybe enhanced the lives of 50 more people, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. That's a big time decision. What else could you do in your life that would be more significant than that? Could you be a great teacher like Mr. Regan? Could you be the CEO of a big company? I don't know that there's anything more significant that you could do than to volunteer to be an organ donor. So now I'm going to ask you some questions, and you could raise your hand and one at a time give me some answers. Like, what are the 6 major organs we talk about in organ donation?
Heart.
Okay, well, heart is one.
Kidney.
Okay. Come on, there's more. There's 3 more. Heart, kidney, liver. Here.
Lungs.
Good. Okay, what else? The 2 that no one ever gets are small intestine and pancreas. 6 major organs. And I'm sure as technology increases, medical research continues, there will be more things that can be recovered. 2 of these organs can be donated while you're alive. What are they? Pardon me?
Kidney.
Kidney is one. No. Keep going. Keep going.
Liver.
we got kidney and liver. Kidney being 70% of all donations. Why is that? Because unfortunately, in our country, we have a lot of type 2 diabetes. And when you have type 2 diabetes, kidneys break down. And if someone, kidneys break down, they either go on dialysis, which means they're hooked up to a machine that does the work of the kidneys and cleans you up, or they have a kidney transplant. And there's another reason. And the reason that that's very prominent in the United States, if you look around, because we have a lot of obese people. And when you have a lot of obese people, you get type 2 diabetes. Diabetes that comes on as an adult. And, you know, in Europe, you don't see this. You see people walking everywhere and riding bikes and eating more healthy than we do. And so it's not as much of a factor. Two of these organs can be donated while you're alive, so it's kidney and liver. Why can the kidney be donated while you're alive? And how many do you have?
2.
Okay, so 2, all right. And the one kidney that remains becomes like a super kidney. And, you know, Alonzo Mourning played NBA basketball with only one kidney. So even though he was in a collision sport, he still could do very well. Anybody know why the liver can be donated while you're alive? We only have one. You have to have it. Anybody know? Different class? Okay. Well, they take part of the liver out and transplant it. And amazingly, the liver regenerates itself, and the part that's left and the part that's received both go to full size. Only organ that we have that does that. Absolutely amazing. So the question that comes up is, you know, I'd be comfortable with donation if I could control when I donated, what I donated, and to whom I donated. Maybe I'm only comfortable donating to my family or the people in my church. Is that okay? And the answer is yes, if we're talking about living donation. Okay? And we're also talking about bone marrow transplants. Bone marrow is the nutrient that goes through your blood, and the surgery takes place. They break a bone in your hip and extract bone marrow, and it heals, and it's not very comfortable. But it's the first line of defense if somebody has leukemia, which is cancer of the blood. And certainly you have blood drives like Zurich High School. So yes, you can control donation and what you donate and to whom and when, if we're talking about living donation. If you sign up to be a regular donor, you don't have any control. They could take anything that's healthy. They could transplant it to any person that would be at the top of the list. And even if your stuff wasn't so healthy for transplantation, it could go to science or research. So you have to be comfortable with that if you sign up to be what's called a deceased donor. Okay? Jason Ray could have affected as many as 50 people. Why is that? Because all these kinds of things can be recovered and have been transplanted. Skin for burn victims, ligaments and tendons for orthopedic surgeries that are supplemented with living tissue, veins, corneas, that's me, bones, heart valves. These two are very rare, but voice boxes have been transplanted and faces have been transplanted. And like I said, I'm sure there will be more and more things as we go down the line. So, someone needs a transplant and is put on a list, okay? Gift of Hope coordinates these lists and blood types and all kinds of things and so on, okay? And so we have a list of people who need livers, kidneys, hearts, etc., okay? How does someone get to the top of the list? You know, the postal worker there, the African-American man, okay? They said he was at the top of the list and he was a perfect match for Jason Ray. How did he get to the top of the list?
Answer, but it was a question on what do you mean by face donation?
I mean, transplant the face to somebody else.
So they would look like a person?
Mostly, but obviously you have a different structure underneath, so it wouldn't be quite exact and so on. But it has happened to people who are burn victims and so on. Yeah? So how do you get to the top of the list? What would you think would be the most important characteristic?
I'm very close to that.
So what's your urgency for dying? How close are you to dying? How long have you been on the list? Okay, so now you're at the top of the list, and now you have to get lucky because things have to match up. What are they? What'd you say? Blood is the number one thing, and then hopefully some DNA factors also match, because if those things don't match up, the body wants to reject the organ, and it's much more comfortable if they do. Yes?
Wouldn't it make more sense if there are different categories based on what you need and what they had available?
Right, that's exactly right. So, livers, lungs, hearts, exactly what is that what you're speaking of?
Like, I understand there's the list, but wouldn't you just move people off if you found X organ and it fits them perfectly?
I'm not sure what do you mean extra organs? There are no extra organs.
No, like a certain organ, like if someone matches it perfectly, but they're not at the top of the
Oh.
list. But it wouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. If it doesn't match, they go down the list until they find the exact match. You're exactly right. That's how it works. You can be at the top of the list and still be waiting if blood doesn't match up and DNA. And then, you know, there are kids who need transplants, but they can't have adult stuff because it's too big. It won't fit. There are adults who need transplants, but they can't have kid organs because they're not big or strong enough. So all things have to match up. It has to be blood, it has to be size, and it has to be location. You would never think of that, but you know, there's only a 24-hour window to work with, and there's lots of things that have to be done, transported and so on, tested. And so organs, for the most part, are not transplanted out of a region. And so the group that I work for, Illinois, all the stuff comes available in Illinois and stays in Illinois. So you gotta have blood, size, location, all match up. Do you think that wealth or fame would get you a liver transplant?
Probably.
Yeah, you would think Donald Trump could just walk in there and say, hey, I got a daughter that needs a liver transplant. Here, I'll give you any amount of money you want. Hook us up, put us at the top of the list, give us the next thing that comes up. Well, the reality of that situation is that Donald Trump or a wealthy or famous person had no more priority than anyone else. You can't buy your way to a transplant. The best football player who ever played for the Chicago Bears was Walter Payton, okay? And Walter needed a liver transplant in the early 90s, and it was well publicized and well known, and he was wealthy and he was famous, and he waited 6 years for a liver transplant, and unfortunately he died in 1999. Walter would be alive today if we could get more people to sign up for organ and tissue donation. He was wealthy and famous, and it did him good. What would hang people up about donating? Why would people be afraid? I think the biggest reason is they just don't know about it. They don't know how important it is, but there are things out there that people are concerned about.
There's stories about organ donors that when they get in an accident, they're pronounced dead, but they're not really, and when they go to take the organs out.
Yeah. They're afraid that maybe they'll try to recover the organs before someone's completely dead, or they won't try to save somebody's life because they've signed up to be an organ donor and they'd rather have the organs than have the person live. Okay? So I can guarantee you that that's 100% false. The doctors, first of all, are committed to saving your life at all costs. Only when a brain death occurs and all brain activity stops, and nobody's ever come out of that, that's not like being in a coma, do they even consider organ donation. Okay? They probably don't even know that you're an organ donor when you come in there. And finally, they don't have anything to do with the organ transplant teams. Totally different set of doctors and process and so on. But that is something that people think. Okay? Another prominent reason that people are reluctant to donate is they think it's against their religion. I'm not coming back in the afterlife if I donate part of my body. And I can tell you that world religious leaders have been asked that question. What do you think about organ donation? Doesn't matter what the religion. 100% of them have said, We think it's the greatest gift that our people could give to one another, and we do not think that it affects the afterlife. Other people say, well, I don't want to be an organ donor because I couldn't have an open casket. Completely false. I mean, maybe with the exception of face transplant, which is extremely rare, you can have an open casket and you could look just the same as you would had you not been an organ donor. Okay? So, in conclusion here, I want to leave you with these thoughts. You know, I had two goals actually by coming in here to talk to you today. One was to give you information so that you know what you're talking about when you consider organ donation or when you go to get your license or renew your license. So now hopefully you know something about it. But my second goal is, I don't expect that you go running out and get online and sign up for organ donation. I mean, that'd be great if you did, but I don't expect that right away. It may happen down the line as you change your life and go on to college and work and adulthood and so on. What I would hope, though, my goal would be that you have a conversation with your parents. That you talk to them, and you know how you get that question, well, how was school today? Well, you could say to them, hey, we had this guy come in and talk about organ donation, and I wonder what you think about it. And have a conversation with them. Find out if they're signed up. Find out what they think about it. Get on the websites and find out more information or confirm what I said. And hopefully down the line you get comfortable with your decision. Okay? If you'd like to be a really even cooler kid than you already are at Lake Zurich High School, you could make a fashion statement with a Donate Life wristband. Some of the coolest people I know wear Donate Life wristbands, and they are available for you there on the desk as you go out. And if we run out of those, I do have more in the room next door if you are really desirous of one. Okay, questions? Thanks for your attention, and good luck with your decision.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.